growing up here, living here in the United States, and telling people that I'm from Mexico, the first thing they say is like, "But you don't look Mexican." I say, "Well, what is a Mexican supposed to look like? Because I know I'm one, but
Right.
but I get it, right? I mean, it's it's what's been portrayed in movies and in sitcoms and whatever, right? You get an image of what a person is, and so you always associate and you try to make that connection. But so my family is kind of mixed. Half of my family comes from the Mayans and the Aztecs of the country Mexico, and then the other half, our roots come from Spain, which invaded Mexico, um, and they brought their people, and the same thing that happens when somebody discovers a nation or whatever, and they kind of try to take over. And so I'm blended, and so I'm lighter and complex, but I have a lot of family members that are darker, very dark. Uh, and so I haven't experienced the same level as other people because of my skin color, but I have experienced some racism, and it's so I have a biblical worldview, right, which gives me an identity beyond what my physical, where I was born, what all that is. And so I'm very grateful that I have that backbone, because I don't depend on someone else's acceptance of me to fulfill me or to make me feel like I belong. But at the same time, and I see the fear. So for example, I'll give you this. This is crazy. I'm thinking about it right now. But like when my kids, when Sophia, my firstborn, she hadn't been born yet, but there was a part of me that wanted her to be darker, because there's a pride.
Yeah.
There's almost this pride in like, I am different, and yeah, I'm not from here, and darker is beautiful. Like it's just as beautiful as any other complexion, right? But there was this pride in me that wanted my little girls to come out and be born darker, so that they had a very visual representation of their heritage, right? But on the flip side, I was scared that they would be born darker because of what they might experience. Yeah. And so it was this weird tension. So I definitely see it. I've experienced some of it, but not to the extent of other people, for sure.
Gotcha. No, that's good. That's good to know. Yeah, Sophia definitely gonna change the game. She white is bright, but she gonna be coming out with that. Yeah, but she gonna be coming out with that Spanish like it ain't nothing, man. Like she gonna be spitting it with them.
People are gonna get confused.
Like, wait a minute, how you know that? Like at 5. So I don't know if you're familiar with these YouTube videos, but there's a lot of YouTube videos floating around right now because of the high prices in America and things like that in major cities, of people actually wanting to move to Mexico. So it's just one I could think of in particular. I'll put her link in the description, but she does real good, simple videos about, she moved from Atlanta to Mexico, I forgot what town, and it's just how, she doesn't proclaim everything is perfect, she definitely keeps it real, but she good, she has no desire to come back. And these are nice apartments. I'm talking, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, I mean, really nice layout for like $400 a month. You know what I mean? Yeah. I didn't know they have Home Depot and stuff like, I'm ignorant. So I'm like, they have a Home Depot. They have like, a mall and like all of this. And she has access to the beach. We go to Cancun. Like Mexico is a beautiful country to go and visit. So I said all that to say, it's like, you hear these stories about people wanting to flee the country and come to America. But a lot of Americans go there for a retreat or go there to relax, or even are considering moving there for a lower cost of living. And, so how do you explain that dynamic? Like, what is it? Like, is that just another part of the country? And why are people in other parts of Mexico fleeing to the parts that are nicer, if that makes sense. Like, what is that dynamic there?
Yeah, so a lot of Mexico's economy comes from tourism, and so the country, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but in a sense, it dresses itself to attract people um, to visit, right? And Mexico has a lot of beautiful history. The country is old and older, than the United States, and there's a lot of beautiful history there. You've got pyramids, um, you've got a lot of things that are beautiful and are different than a lot of places, and it's attractive, and so a lot of people will visit. But it's when you grow up in Mexico, the system is a little bit different. Honestly, I'd compare it to like if somebody's born in the projects in the United States. You are born into the world that you know, and unless you are exposed and you are nurtured into believing that there's something beyond that you can access or you have the ability to reach, that's your world, and you live in that bubble forever. And so classes in Mexico are a lot more separated than like in the United States. Like the United States has you could argue there is a middle class, and in Mexico there is a middle class, but the separation between the low class and the high class is vast, and so it's harder. People can't just say, "Well, I'm going to move here." The necessity to work to provide for your family most of the time takes precedence over like educating yourself and going through school. One of the reasons why, and this is different in the culture in the United States, but one of the reasons why men don't, or even women don't move out of their parents' house until they get married, because they're going to school, they're trying to pursue a career, and then they become financially stable enough to be able to move out once they get married. So the once you're 18 and you move out of the house concept is very rare.
I actually love that about y'all culture. I like the family dynamic where, my dad, he has neighbors that it's like 8 of them in there. It's like a 4-bedroom, 2-bedroom house, 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, but they live together, build, like you said, and bring all their income into one household. Yeah. And this American idea of leaving when you're 18, going to college, creating debt immediately, and going out into the workforce and getting in more debt. Like, I just think that's idiotic. If everybody makes $20,000 a year, y'all be good. You know what I mean? But everybody want to pursue individually $100,000. So I do like that idea of family coming together under one roof.
And honestly, a lot of that comes from, there's a lot of privilege in that, right? If you're the majority in the country and you move, you have more opportunities, and so you're 18, you probably have parents that can afford to pay for your boarding at university or school, whatever, or to help you and assist. And I'm not trying to generalize, but there is a lot of that, right? And so, but kind of mentioning back to something you alluded to earlier about similarities between the African American, the Black community, and the Hispanic Latin community. Like the culture of community is so vibrant in both, right? Like the potlucks, the get-togethers, the house parties, the block parties. I mean, I remember in Mexico growing up, man, we used to close out our block. And the whole block would have a party like on a Sunday, and cars wouldn't go through, and everybody would bring a meal, would have loud music, and there's so much of that I miss because there is a sense of community and belonging, and it's just beautiful, and I miss that for sure. But that is a similarity. It's one of the reasons why like you're one of my closest friends, but a lot of my closest friends are Black, because there is similarities to our cultures, you know, not only because we have some similar experiences as minorities, but also because, man, there's like our food, you know, like certain taste. We like spices. We like things to you know, to have a lot of flavor. Music. I mean, there's a lot of that I think brings people together, and it's all that is beautiful. And I think when you create laws to prevent people from coming here, you're robbing the country from experiencing, from growing, from savoring the beauty of something that's different, you know.
I mean, I think that's one of the reasons people love New York so much, is because it's a gumbo, it's a pot of different cultures. They have the best food, the best entertainment, because it's these different cultures coming together. You don't have to be one city. That could be our whole nation, you know, if the laws were in place to allow that. So I definitely agree with you. And kind of just going back a little bit, you are one of the best hosts. I mean, one of the struggles of this pandemic is not being able to go to a Hector Berlanga's house for an event. Like, they have it laid, like the food is laid, the dessert is laid, the entertainment is laid. Like, y'all are the best hosts ever. Like, if y'all had like millions of dollars, it would probably be ridiculous. Like, you'll probably have, like, you know, Neo come and perform or something. Like, I don't know, like live music. But where do you, like, you know, you kind of spoke on it a little bit, but like, I want to kind of touch on hip hop a little bit, and then we have to go into another segment again, because this is kind of going longer than I expected. My bad. Good combo.
No, I'm good, man. I love this. It's great.
But your appreciation of hip hop, like, where did that derive from? Is that just where you grew up, or like did you grow up around black people, or where did that derive from? Because you have a true appreciation of hip hop.
Yeah, it's just so actually, no, I didn't grow up around black people. So in Mexico, you rarely saw black people, like really ever. And then I moved to South Texas, where maybe I knew 2 black people in the whole city.
Yeah, I guess Laredo was just an American version of Mexico. Yeah, so
yeah, in some ways, like, there's a lot of Hispanic and Latin people there that are living there, so there wasn't many. It wasn't until I moved to Dallas in 2006. I was a lot more exposed to black people, but I gravitated towards hip hop even in Mexico. So when I was living in Mexico, and there was, so I've always loved music, and I play instruments, and I just always loved music. And music was
one of your earliest hip hop albums you can remember, if you don't mind me asking. That I bought. I was just listening to, like, maybe it was your cousin or somebody playing it. What's like one of the early hip hop album music?
Man, so in Mexico, this is crazy. It was Cypress Hill.
Wow.
So yeah, Cypress Hill was one of my, and I think because they have a kind of Hispanic vibe as well. So that was my first introduction to that kind of like hardcore, you know, hip hop. So Cypress Hill was one of my first, and also weirdly, Lauryn Hill. But so it was a very diverse, like, kind of like look into the culture. But anyway, Cypress Hill was one of my first. But I've always loved music, and I think I've always been sensitive toward the struggling, the ostracized, the marginalized. I've just always been sensitive to that. And so hip hop, from the early days, the narrative was like, we're just trying to survive. Like, we are trying to, this is an escape for us to be able to express the pains that we go through, the things that we see, the injustices that we experience. And I just gravitated towards the narrative, the message. And obviously the beats were great. And I mean, you know, there's no question about that. But it was more about that. And like, I was like, man, they're saying a lot of very important things. And so that's what I gravitated to, honestly.